Good morning, Bookfighters. It is August 30th, and this video comes to you in 6 parts. Part 1, this video. So this video is coming to you today from my mobile phone because my computer decided it was going to be really slow today, and it's really fun when that happens. I like it a lot. No, so I have no idea what the quality is going to be like in this video today. Let's hope it's better than last week. Surely it can't be any worse than last week when I put the video in the capable hands of my brother. But all that matters, really, is that you can hear me, and hopefully you can. Part 2, Pride and Prejudice. So, I felt like I needed to read a classic because after my Room Fighters video that received some shtick defending classic literature, and I completely understand, I know there's a reason that it's classic, but I felt like this was going to be the book, if any. So I felt like I really wanted this book to change my mind and to draw me in and to keep me hooked, and it didn't, unfortunately. And I don't know. I liked the story, I did, I liked the characters, I appreciated Jane Austen's irony, I understand, you know, she's constantly kicking that kind of, the class structure and all the people in this book and how silly it all is, and she comments on sexism, certainly, but it's all kind of hushed, and I appreciate that, and I get it, but I just couldn't connect to it. And again, I wouldn't have finished it if it wasn't for this project. I mean, there were parts where I was in, there's some really tense scenes between Miss Darcy and Elizabeth, and she captures the awkwardness brilliantly. Did I say Miss Darcy then? But I don't know. It just didn't connect with me like I wanted it to. It's great. Everyone knows it's great, but still doesn't do anything to help my my willingness to connect. Part 3, Pride and Prejudice the movie. So this week I also watched the Pride and Prejudice movie. I'd seen trailers and I think I'd seen bits of it, but I'd never watched it as a whole. I never really knew the story to Pride and Prejudice and what it was all about, so after watching the book I thought I'll watch the film, especially because it was on YouTube as well. There's a link down there where you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, and I thought the film was beautiful. I really thought it was gorgeous, and apart from the initial thing of already knowing the plot, so films tend to drag because you know what's coming next and you've just read the book and you're like, how does this work? So apart from that, I thought the film was incredible. I thought one interesting difference about the film and the book, whereas in the book you see Darcy and Wickham through what everyone else sees them through their actions. But in the film, you see their mannerisms, and you see them like who they actually are. And so Darcy is always kind of brooding, and he's always comes across as this kind of nice guy, whereas Wickham is always a smarmy bastard. And you can see Elizabeth's prejudice in the film becomes a lot more prominent, which I think is very interesting. Yeah. Part 4, The Hunger Games. So everyone's been going on about the release of Mockingjay this week, and I had to jump on the bandwagon. I thought, I've got to read The Hunger Games. I finished Pride and Prejudice on Thursday, and then I got The Hunger Games on Friday, and I finished it Saturday morning, because put simply, it was absolutely incredible. An incredible, enthralling, exhilarating experience reading this novel. Characters just absolutely alive and lovable, and the action described with such detail and she has such an understanding, Susan Collins has such an understanding of pacing and leaving the reader just constantly wanting more, just drooling for more and needing to know what happens. It was the first time in a long time that I couldn't sleep because I needed to know what was going to happen in this book. And I would have read Catching Fire over the weekend as well if Amazon had delivered it to me, but alas they didn't, as they seem hell-bent on annoying me. Part 5, what I'm reading next week. So I could only be reading Catching Fire and Mockingjay next week because it's incredible and I need to know what happens next, and I'm so in, it's unreal. So I'm going to be reading Catching Fire and Mockingjay next week, and I think you should all do the same. Everyone, if you haven't got The Hunger Games, go and buy it. The buzz is completely just. So yeah. Go do that. Part 6, Sock Puppet Question Time.
Do you have any superstitions?
Yes.
What are they?
What?
Well, you can't just say yes. You've got to explain what they are.
Why?
Because.
Yeah, I have loads of superstitions, and some of them are really odd, and you'd be like, what? But I can't do any of the usual. I can't walk under ladders. I don't like Friday the 13th. I have some more obscure ones, which are actually not that obscure over here where I live, but things get spread. People say things like, hey, you know it's bad luck to walk over 3 grids, and you go, no it's not, and then you just will never walk over 3 grids again, because you always see 3 grids and then think, well, why even risk it? I have 2 anecdotes about the 3 grid thing that I will tell you another time.
Do you have any favourite myths?
I don't have any favourite myths per se. I tend to think that they're a bit 2D. You know, it's a bit like, here's what happened, here are the people in it, here are the characters in the story, and this is the moral. But a poet that I really hate did a poem that I really like, and it's called Mrs. Midas, and it's by a poet called Caroline Duffy, and it's about King Midas who could touch everything and turn it to gold. It's about his wife, and it's what I like about it is it kind of twists the tale on its head, and it's kind of like, if you could touch anything to gold, you couldn't touch skin, you couldn't have passion and affection with your wife, and it kind of turns on its head, and I like things that do that. But no, I don't suppose I have any favourite myths.
What is your earliest memory?
My earliest memory is when I was 5 years old, and I remember my 5th birthday, and I remember the layout of the room, and like, that is it. I also remember the layout of the room that I had in Disneyland Paris, when I went to Disneyland Paris when I was about 5 years old as well. I have like little snippets, I can't remember anything substantial, but there are some like images that are just implanted in my head where it's just like, I can completely, you know, visualise what that room was like.
NaNoWriMo?
NaNoWriMo! That means yes, by the way. I think that'd be really awesome. Okay, Bookfighters, bye for now. P.S. I think we should come up with some kind of way to log all the books that we've read and what we thought about them. Maybe a website or something. If any of you have got any ideas, let me know. Hey, do you know it's bad luck not to be able to walk over 3 grids? People will say things like, hey, you know it's bad luck not to be able to not. People will say things like, hey, you know it's bad. What? People think. Fuck.